sister's a therapist and I tell jokes. We both want to help all kinds of folks.
Hello, and welcome to My Sister's a Therapist. This is a show where my sister, who is a therapist, talks to me, a stand-up comedian. And my name is Virginia Jones, and I've recently left TikTok and I'm grieving about it. Please meet my sister, Laura Ryan.
Hello, I'm Laura Ryan. I'm still on TikTok. I'm a licensed marriage and family therapist, but my main credit is sister to Baroness of Banter, Virginia Jones.
We should say it took you many years to get your master's degree and to do your training hours and to get your license to do therapy in the state of Texas. But it's taken you your whole life to be my sister. It's a better credit.
It's definitely more hard earned.
You've been my sister since the day you were born. There's no getting out of it. On this podcast, we take turns researching a topic and bringing a topic that we're interested in to the podcast. This week, it's your turn to bring the topic. What are we talking about today?
This week, we have a listener idea that came to us via email. If you have an idea that you'd like to share on the podcast, just send us an email at hello@mysistersatherapist.com. This email is from Maria, and I'm just going to read it to you. Hello, Laura and Virginia. I'm recently divorced, and I'm realizing how much I compartmentalized my husband out of my life and emotionally divorced him long before I actually filed. As the years went by, our shared interests dwindled. We continue to love and respect each other and remain loyal and committed to our marriage. In each part of my life that I couldn't share with him, I told myself that my marriage was enough and it was okay to leave him out of big parts of my life because I valued my autonomy so much. As we grew apart, our communication worsened and we went to therapy. I was shocked to hear the way that he described me to the therapist and realized that he didn't know me at all and wasn't interested in truly knowing me. After 10 months of weekly therapy, I filed for divorce. While entering another committed relationship seems like a nightmare to me at the moment, I realized that I never learned how to have the balance between maintaining my independence while still sharing my life with another person. I'd love to hear your thoughts and advice on how successful couples are able to be a part of each other's lives without losing themselves. Thanks, Maria. This is a great topic.
Yeah, thank you. And that made me so sad hearing you realize that your husband has no idea who you are and doesn't really care.
That's really painful because you think I've been shoulder to shoulder with you for all the years that we've been married and you don't even know me.
People say marriage is important. My marriage comes first. Marriage is not living in a house with a person and having your name on a piece of paper. The part of marriage that is good is the two of you growing together, learning more about each other every day. The support system that you have with a good marriage, that's what's worth keeping, not just, well, we're married and we said we're married and now we have to tolerate this.
Cohabiting is not the thing.
I've been going down a rabbit hole with Dr. John Deloney. He brought up an interesting idea. A man was complaining that his wife wasn't engaged with him, didn't really talk to him, wasn't interested in his interests, and would threaten divorce because she knew that that was his wound. That was the worst thing for him. But she wouldn't leave. And Dr. John said she's quit and stayed.
It's called quiet quitting in the workforce. You're not actively leaving, but this is what Maria is doing. She's in the marriage physically, but she has left the building emotionally, spiritually, etc.
That's not a success story. We're big proponents of have your own hobbies, have your own friends. Don't look for everything to come from your husband. It's a great question of how do you strike that balance? Thing one is being married to someone who cares about who you are. I think that that's a really good thing to have.
And I think it's really hard to know whether you're married to someone who cares about who you are. At the front end, when everyone's flooded with doves, it seems like they do care about you. They're interested. They do funny, cute things.
When you are newly Twitter-pated with somebody, you find them fascinating. You want to know everything about them. Sometimes men don't really value their wives as individuals. When they turn 30, they look around for the best looking one and they marry her. Because she's been trained to cater to his whims and interests, he might not even know what hers are.
So I read a book that I can't remember the title of, but basically the author was a woman who had been married for 20 years and sort of realized after 20 years that there wasn't much there. And she was talking about the fact that men are trained to make these huge efforts at the front end of a relationship, like the end of every rom-com, doing something crazy for the other person,
A big gesture.
making your proposal crazy. The story that they are raised on is you do that stuff until you lock her down, and then you don't have to do it anymore.
And then you're good forever.
Women are taught that we have to be thoughtful and kind and do things and make efforts for our entire relationship.
I had a friend who loved a romance novel, and many of my girlfriends do. She asked, are any men romantic? Not in the way that you're reading about.
Are they gay? Potentially.
Right.
I think gay men do a really good job of being romantic with each other. They understand that they're both responsible for the relationship.
When you're reading romance novels, these are overblown because it's meant to create a physiological response and an emotional response. These are exaggerations, and you might get romantic behavior from any man when he's trying to win you. But then when he's got you, he's like, well, I'm going to put my feet up and rest for 20, 30 years.
Also, who writes romance novels? Women.
I think men are very task oriented. They think of getting a partner as a task. Then they complete that task. This is from How to Stop Losing Yourself in Relationships by John Kim, LMFT. I've heard those letters before. Clients come to me saying they feel lost and that they've given so much of themselves in their relationship and they don't know who they are anymore. One of the first things that tends to fall by the wayside in relationships is our own interests. We start spending all of our time with our partner, and slowly our hobbies, passions, and personal goals take a back seat. You tell yourself, I'll get back to that once we're more settled. But the truth is, the more you neglect your interests, the more disconnected you become from who you are. Yes, if you are centering the man and everything is about his needs and his comforts and his interests, you're going to find yourself going to a lot of basketball games. I see women doing this, and I bought myself a little jersey. It's a great time. I've decided that I like this player because he's cute. You're finding your own space in his space. As you know, my interests take up a good part of my life. Making that decision for myself again and again keeps a safe balance between my interests and my partner's interests.
I remember reading a study at some point. They were looking at compromise, and they were saying, if you are going to see a movie, for example, and the two of you find a movie that you both don't hate, it's actually going to make you feel worse than if one of you gets to see the movie they really wanted to see. So they were suggesting you watch your movie this week, next week I get to watch my movie, and it's actually going to make us both happier.
Yes, because instead of meeting in the middle, we both get to watch something we really enjoy, and we get to share something we really enjoy with our partner. This is why action movies sell so well, because men want to see them. And then they put a pretty boy in the lead. They put something in there for women. This is for the girls.
But then I come out of it having wasted 2.5 hours of my life. I remember when I first got divorced, I was thinking, thank God I don't have to pretend I like Marvel movies anymore. There were so many things that I was being forced into doing that I did not enjoy.
I just think the important thing is to find a balance. One of the things that was challenging in my marriage was when I wanted to start doing something that, one, brought attention to myself, and two, would take time. My spouse had a lot of specific interests that took all of his time. The idea that I would do something outside of that, I think, was very challenging.
Yeah, that makes sense. Reclaiming your time from yourself. This is from the same article. Make it a point to schedule regular time each week to pursue your hobbies or passions, whether it's working out, painting, reading, or something else that lights you up. Don't wait for your partner to give you time. You need to take it. This isn't about being selfish. It's about maintaining your identity outside of the relationship. Ask yourself, what makes me feel alive? And how can I start making space for that today?
Bigger picture is, if you are in a good relationship with someone who cares about your health and happiness, carving out time for your own interests and things that fill your cup is going to make for a happier partner, a happier life. Why would you want to have this little beige crone following you around to do your interests all of the time?
And also, you can tell when the person doesn't care, when their heart isn't in it. I don't enjoy going to a concert with someone who only kind of likes the band that I like, because it's not as fun.
100%. Right. I would rather go by myself than to have someone tagging along who is doing it to humor me or was just doing it because they had a night free. That's always a challenge. There's a lot of things that I wind up doing recently where none of the women are interested. We make eye contact and nod silently at one another. I saw a TikTok from a woman saying, I know you guys think you're into weird stuff, but I started dating an autistic man and now I've traveled to go to a film camera convention. Just men looking at film cameras, playing with film cameras, talking about film cameras, buying film cameras, selling film cameras, opening film cameras, cleaning film cameras.
That sounds like one of the rings of hell. That's a whole weekend too.
Yeah. And the reason that men even have the space for these all-consuming interests is that they have a woman to support their lives.
I had a friend who used to collect rotary phones, and he would go to conventions that were rotary phone conventions. He asked me if I wanted to go, and I said, hell no.
Thank you for asking. No, I wouldn't. That was a big thing in Portland for a while, typewriters, because there were a lot of beautiful typewriters that were no longer useful. You could get them for not too much money, but what everybody found was when it's time to move house, moving 20 antique typewriters is not the easiest or the most fun thing.
It's a hard no for me. He had a wall of all the phones hung up on it. No thanks.
And that really comes to something I think a lot about. You start liking something, you get really into it, and then you find other people with that interest and you can interact with them, connect with them. What is it bringing to your life to have a rotary phone collection?
I think it's tingling your autism. I really think there's something about autistic men having collections. I remember watching a TikTok where there was a man who had a Pyrex bowl collection to the point where he had his entire basement built-in shelves to display his literally thousands of Pyrex bowls. And I thought, when he dies, this is going to be such a nightmare.
I was watching a TikTok, you'll be surprised. A man had died and had left a Lego collection. The kids found this TikTok account that was all about collecting Legos, Lego collections, Lego sets. They came to the house, they assessed everything, they made an offer, which was a crazy amount of money, but a tiny percentage of what the actual collection was worth. And they were going through, oh, this is a grail. This Spider-Man with the black web, he's a grail. Oh, these Frodo figurines. Laura's rolling her eyes. I'm watching it with my partner and we're having very different reactions because this man had a problem. These sets were not built. He never engaged with them. He just had them.
In the boxes?
Yes.
That's even worse.
It's incredibly bad. He just possessed them. A Lego set is not an object. It's an activity. It's something you engage with. This man had bought so many Legos, there was no way he was going to be able to build every set. It was just
obviously with this lifeline, it didn't work. I have a child who's a Lego collector in my home, and he wants me to keep the boxes. And I don't, because I won't. I'm not going to live like that. I'm not going to have a million boxes in a closet somewhere. You can play with them and you can display them. And then we're going to put them in a Ziploc and probably give them to Goodwill.
In relationships, it's easy to become enmeshed with your partner to the point where their needs, desires, and even their opinions start to overshadow your own. You may find yourself saying yes to things you don't really want just to keep the peace or make them happy. Over time, this leads to you losing your sense of self. Set clear boundaries that protect your individuality. Start by asking yourself, where am I sacrificing my own needs or preferences for the sake of the relationship? Whether it's in how you spend your free time, how you handle conflict, or how you express your opinions, make sure you're not constantly putting yourself last. And that's something we're trained into doing. Eating the burnt cookie, letting everybody else get second helpings first.
And managing conflict by taking these parts of myself and basically hacking them off so that I don't make my partner uncomfortable.
If I'm in a partnership with someone who actively or passively minimizes my interests and my needs and the things that make me happy, that's not worth having.
That was my first relationship. My partner wanted me to be a copy paste of himself. He didn't like the fact that I enjoyed rap music. He didn't like the fact that I did not want to watch movies that were not comedies. And he was constantly demeaning and undermining me. And I should have left about 8.5 or 9 years before I did.
Because it's your first relationship, that's the mistake we all make. The idea that no one's ever going to love me like this, and I'm never going to have a love like this. And that's true. You're never going to have a love like that again because you don't know how bad you can be hurt. I don't like the fact that you like rap music, but we're still together.
Well, I don't think we have a choice, really. And I don't know if we're together. I have experienced this in big and small ways in almost every relationship that I've had with a man. He wants me to be his Xerox. The kids might not know what that means, but it's an old-timey copy machine.
And it's spelled X-Rocks. I don't know what's interesting about that. I don't want to be with a partner who 100% likes everything that I like, dislikes everything I dislike, because where is my capacity for growth there?
I think it's about not thinking of you as a human being. You are an object. As an object, I am the sun and you are one of the planets that rotates around me. Of course, you're going to want to listen to this punk rock music and you're going to want to cut your hair the way that my female friends do. And you're going to want to put your makeup on the way that that one did. You don't have any autonomy because you're not actually a person. You are an object. And that's the vibes I'm getting from this email. I don't think her husband thought of her as a human being. He thought of her as an object.
But when we go into relationships and marriage without thinking about what we want, men and women, we're going to end up with someone who's around, someone who seems nice, who likes us. That might not be a compatible partner. If who a woman is unimportant, that really broadens your dating field.
And when I look at many of the men that I've known socially in my life, they're not picking women that are their equals. They're choosing women because they were hot. I've been following this lady on TikTok who I just want to beat my chest and scream out her name, although I don't know what it is. She has this account where she is reading emails from people that she has rejected for her matchmaking business. And it's almost all men. And what she's mostly saying is, hey, you're trying to get a young, hot, incredibly successful, well-to-do woman who's 20 years younger than you. And
why does she want you?
She doesn't want you. Every TikTok that she makes is that premise. You think you have value and worth, and you think you're important, and you think that you just need someone really hot to hang out with you all the time.
You're not thinking about what you, quote unquote, bring to the table. I've had issues with this with friends and acquaintances, men usually, saying, I need to date someone 10 years younger than me. You might not get it, bro. You may have already met the woman that was going to be a good match for you. And because you were too busy dating a million people, you may have passed your opportunity to get the right match for you.
The incredibly young, hot, right, very intelligent, very well-read woman that you're looking for.
And the fact is that you should have married her when you were both young and hot. You shouldn't be looking now.
Men forget that we can get our own credit cards. We can sign our own leases. We can even purchase property on our own. Boundaries are not about creating distance. This is from the same article. They are about creating healthy space where both you and your partner can thrive as individuals. When you stop bending over backwards to accommodate your partner at your own expense, you feel more empowered and grounded in who you are.
That's not a good thing for men either, because if I'm an empowered and grounded person, I could leave.
You probably will. I saw somebody again on TikTok recently saying, if you account for the reported 50% marriages ending, and then you start thinking about how many people are actually happy in their marriages, she was saying it was like 3% of all marriages are happy. And that's not very many.
Because it takes a lot to have a happy marriage. And I think that one of the things is finding this balance between us time and me time and you time. In relationships, we often hold back parts of ourselves, whether it's out of fear of conflict, rejection, or simply wanting to fit into what we think the other person wants. But when you hide parts of who you are, you're essentially erasing yourself little by little. True connection can only happen when both people are showing up as their authentic selves. This is the only thing to have. I was friends with a woman who was in the online dating scene. He asked me if I like this. I don't, but I should say I do. No, you shouldn't. But what if he stops talking to me? That's what you want. If someone is inherently incompatible with you, you want them to stop talking to you. I can pretend to be compatible with anybody. I can fake it. I'm also super into talking about World War II or semiconductors, bare feet running or guided by voices.
I like guided by voices.
You're the only woman who does. Enjoy that.
When I was at the concert, I was like, wow, there's
a lot of dudes here.
There's not very many women here. Same with Robin Hitchcock.
I think Robin Hitchcock had more female fans when he was young and hot. Now he's old and hot, and maybe some of us have fallen off.
I disagree. He's definitely old.
I can pretend to like what you like, and I can cobble together something, but it's not a good marriage. It's not a happy marriage. It's just two people who are living together, legally entwined. But I don't want that.
Preferences are step one. But I think what really matters is, do we have the same values? Do we have the same beliefs? Do we think the same things about our responsibilities in this relationship? What I'm hearing from Maria is we don't have the same beliefs about what our responsibilities are in the marriage. We don't have the same ideas about who we are as human beings. You don't even know who I am as a person. So if we don't have that very basic thing, how on earth are we going to build anything?
It's one thing for your husband not to 100% know you. It's another thing for your husband to 100% not care. The suggestion here is if you have an opinion that's different from your partner's, share it. If you want to try something new or set a new boundary, let them know. The more you practice being your authentic self in the relationship, the less likely you are to lose that sense of who you are.
I remember having a client in the past who was having conflict with his wife, and he was avoiding talking to her about it. I asked him why, because every week I would say, okay, so have we talked about this important thing? And he said, I'm afraid if I talk to her about it, she's going to tell me that she doesn't agree and it's going to end our marriage. And I said, bro, if that's true, then that was the best outcome, because being in a relationship with someone who is not interested in knowing you or having healthy conflict, then you can't make this work.
We've touched on this in big and little ways many times before. The societal pressure to be in any marriage is bad for women. Just pick a man, doesn't matter. Can he earn a paycheck and sire kids? That's all I want. Then you have these people who are strangers married to each other. I think there has to be a give and take. I don't want to be in a relationship with someone who has no overlap with my interests, especially someone who acts like my interests are a burden, a waste of time. But I also don't require or even want someone who's 100% aligned on everything that I like.
I don't think that's what we're talking about. I think we're saying, does this person truly know me?
Right.
Do they know who I am down to the stud?
How is he going to grow and learn and be exposed to new ideas if you're just what he likes?
Well, the truth is, I wasn't what he liked, and he complained about it all the time because I wasn't going to let him oppress me. I looked at the things in his life that he enjoyed, and I tried to find overlaps. And I did find several. Indie rock music, I still listen to that stuff, but I still liked old-timey folk music, and I still liked 80s new wave music, and I still liked pop music, and I still liked rap music. He wanted me to just make a copy of him and give it boobs.
And part of the toxicity that person had was he needed to demonstrate his coolness and his masculinity all the time. He needed other men to know that he was great. And I think that's where a lot of that pressure came from. It's not enough just to like something. I need to present some kind of united front against the world. And it's a little ridiculous.
And I have to be the expert on all the things that I like. And if you get it wrong, oh my God, I'm going to roast you in front of as many people as possible.
Super good. But you know what? You learn, I don't like this.
It took me a long time to get there. I'm going to read from Haley McGee's article, How to Fall in Love Without Losing Yourself. Have you ever caught yourself saying phrases like this in the early stages of a relationship? Don't mind the laundry. I'll do it tomorrow. Let's order takeout. I can go to the store next weekend. I should get my 8 hours of sleep, but staying up with you is so much fun. I can't really afford this trip, but I'm so excited to go anyway. Sounds familiar? Here's the deal. If we sacrifice our needs at the beginning of a relationship, doing so can quickly become a rule instead of an exception. Like all habits, this can be a difficult one to break.
Yes. One of the few pieces of wisdom my father gave me was if you start doing a chore in your household, that's going to become your job. It's not just one day you're being nice. I think that's a good rule to follow in general. If you do something, that becomes baseline. I'm going to go above and beyond. I'm going to overspend my budget to do this thing. But now that's just the expectation.
Because you were lying when you said you would do that. When you said, I don't need 8 hours of sleep a night, you were lying.
100% I used to do all that stuff. And now I only do 20% of it. It's all come from bad experiences and learning. I can do this for a 1 week vacation. I can do this for a 3-month relationship. I can't totally subvert all of my own needs, interests, commitments forever for you. I was actually having a discussion about this morning because a recent ex of his said, oh, she's not taking care of you. Your shirt's dirty. Your beard needs to be trimmed and she doesn't take care of you like I do. And he brought this to me a little bit worried and with eyes downcast. I can't think of anything worse than taking care of another human being like that.
Another adult. I take care of a child like that.
Right.
but I'm not going to take care of an adult. I wipe the toothpaste off of his shirt every day because for whatever reason, he cannot brush his teeth without getting toothpaste on his shirt. I do that with a child. And I think that's part of why this situation got so much worse for me is I already am bending over backwards for another human being, but he is a helpless human being who I am legally responsible for. I'm not going to do it for a grown-up. If you have a weird neck hair, that's on you, bro.
Go to the barber. How to hold yourself accountable for maintaining your basic needs. Make a list of your non-negotiables, the activities you must do to feel healthy and stable. Mine are 8 hours of sleep a night, daily shower and hygiene, good for me meals, apartment clean before leaving for the day, weekly trips to the grocery store. When we invest in our own health, we invest in the health of our relationship. The partners who are the best for us will want us to take care of ourselves. Let's expand this to what are the lifestyle non-negotiables. Some of mine are, I want to go to the gym every day. If that doesn't move with your schedule, that's fine. I will go do it and I will see you later. Obviously, I'm not available some nights. And that's how it's going to be. I had that talk with my partner early on in the relationship. I'm not going to be available to every party you want to go to. I'm not going to be available for every family event. I'm going to try, but there's a lot of things that I'm just not going to be able to do. And that's part of it.
And being a small business owner who works nights, I have to do that most of the time. I remember once my boyfriend was very unwell and he asked me if I would drive him to his doctor's appointment. And I just thought, bro, get an Uber. I did it because I was being nice. And then all of my clients were mad at me because I had to cancel my whole morning.
And that was an insane ask. I remember this happening and thinking it was insane at the time.
What was I going to do? I couldn't physically help him in any way. I was just physically standing next to him while he went to the doctor's office. I was standing next to him while he picked up a prescription. And I remember thinking, bro, you have a 9-to-5 job where you can just call out. I don't have that kind of job because I have to reschedule all the people I don't see today. So I have to find a place to see them.
What if you had to tell your clients exactly what it was? Like you just say family emergency. But what if you had to tell your client, I'm sorry, I have to break this appointment that we've had because my boyfriend can't go to the doctor by himself. That's absurd.
Oh, is his car broken down?
No.
He's unconscious. He's in a wheelchair. I'll take a wheelchair. That makes sense.
He's lost mobility. No. He just doesn't want to go by himself. He wants me to drive him in my car like his mommy and go with him like his mommy.
Calling out of work to drive your partner to the ER is one thing. Bailing on your girlfriend's movie night to go out to ice cream with your boyfriend is another. When our love relationships are exciting and new, we might be tempted to prioritize them above anything else. Don't. Every time we break or reschedule plans to accommodate our partner's schedule, we imply time with my partner is more important than everything else, including my own needs. Remember, focusing energy on yourself will not harm your relationship. In fact, it will benefit your relationship by allowing you to show up healthy, happy, and strong.
Exactly. I was talking to someone who lives together. They both work from home and they spend 24 hours a day together and they say they love it. That seems so draining. What are you even going to talk about? If you're spending all day, every day together, you're not having any experiences apart from the other person. Prioritize your friendships because those people are still going to be in your life if and when this relationship ends. I have a standing weekly girls' lunch date and I have a rotating cast of girls. It's always enjoyable. I always come away with new ideas and new stories, new things to think about. Connecting and relating with other women really energizes me. I make a better partner when I've made time to do that.
When my cup is full, I have more to share with other people.
Many people pleasers I've worked with, not me, the person who wrote this article, have a history of losing their sense of identity in their romantic relationship. New love is equivalent to an overflowing schedule, detachment from friends, and decreasing interest in their hobbies. More love meant less them. In healthy relationships, partners eventually settle into a comfortable balance of togetherness and separateness. But sometimes a preoccupation with our partner becomes a defining characteristic of our relationship. Early in the relationship, when this person is just glowing with light and you want to know everything about them and you want to get in their clothes and walk around, I think it's very normal for everything else to take a back seat for a little while. When you are proceeding as two humans engaging in a partnership, I think it's important to go back to those friendships, those interests, whatever makes you you. In The Artist's Way by Julia Cameron, the core of Artist's Way is doing your pages. And I've been doing my pages for 5 years now, and I find it very, very helpful. Another thing she encourages is going on artist dates. And that is going to something that you are interested in by yourself and engaging with it. And I think that especially women are discouraged from this kind of activity. I used to feel that it was odd for me to go to a museum by myself, go to a show by myself. Now it's very much a normal part of my life. It's a great way to connect with something on my level, not be talking to someone else about it, going to see the part that they're interested in. I've gotten very selfish about that.
I remember when I was dating, I loved going on dates where the guy no-showed because that meant I could just hang out by myself in a coffee shop for an hour. Having a child around has made it really hard for me to have any personal time. Why do people do this? Codependency. Codependency is a behavioral condition in which a person with low self-esteem relies on external validation for a sense of purpose. Codependent folks over-focus on other people's needs and under-focus on their own. They have trouble asserting themselves, difficulty setting boundaries, and they play the role of martyr or savior in all of their relationships.
We've talked about this before in our Codep Prep episode. Codependency doesn't mean you're dependent on one another. Codependency means one person is depending on another person and the other person is putting up with it.
You can deploy a grounding exercise anytime, anywhere. You can do one while you're sitting across from your partner at dinner, while you're riding together in the car, or even when you're having sex. They are short, simple, and inconspicuous. So Virginia, walk us through how to do this grounding exercise.
To begin, take a full deep breath and notice how the air enters and exits your lungs. Feel the pressure of your feet on the ground and your body on the chair or bed. Spread your awareness to the furthest reaches of your body, your toes, your fingertips, your scalp. I enjoy having a mental mantra to accompany my body scan. I say to myself, I am here. If you do meditation, a lot of them will start with the body scan, just checking in with the body. I think this would be a weird thing to do while having sex, but okay, just look up at your partner and whisper, I am here.
I think you would keep it to yourself. I'm not sure that you would say it out loud.
And I hope you'll say, I know you're here. We're here together. Especially for codependent or anxiously attached individuals, an increasing degree of attachment often corresponds with a decreasing self-concept. Unfortunately, these attitudes have often become a self-fulfilling prophecy. Studies have shown that people who feel over-idealized may feel like they have more power in the relationship. They may be less willing to put their partner first. Over-idealized, what does that mean?
I'm thinking about this person like they're not a real person. They're an over-idealized version of humanity. They're perfect.
Got it. There's a lot of social mores. We've got the boys' trip and normalizing women giving themselves over entirely in service of partners rather than being two people in service of each other.
Right. It's not necessarily about me ever getting my needs met again. And I think parenthood has made me really understand that I cannot do this in any of my other relationships because I'm doing it constantly with this one dude all the time.
And parenthood has also helped you understand what it is to be a parent as opposed to what it is to be a partner. They should be two very different activities.
The relationships I've had with men, they don't really see a difference there. I'm supposed to be behaving like a mother would behave for her child rather than like a partner would behave for her partner. We are capable of forming healthy, balanced relationships that celebrate instead of bury our authentic selves. Developing and maintaining a strong sense of self is like working a muscle. The more you practice, the easier that it gets.
From an article by Dr. Egypt Iridia, How Decentering Men is Positively Changing My Life. I found most men to be selfish, self-centered, and objectifying of women. Decentering men in my life forced me to step back and really see men for what they are. I realized they are just human beings with often inflated egos. I don't need to be huffing and puffing over them so much. They're simply not that big a deal.
I previously put so much energy into relationships and men. I was always thinking about guys, dressing up for them, worrying about them, or going on dates with them. I was complaining about them to girlfriends, angry with them, or secretly coveting the male gaze. Now all of that mental energy gets redirected into me, my dreams, my goals, and my own awesomeness.
Good things to think about. What are the habits and patterns we formed, and how can we do a better job going forward? But I want to center back into Maria's question. Going forward, if and when she is ready for a relationship, and if and when someone presents themselves to her that she thinks would be a good person to be in a relationship with. Item 1, coming into the relationship, being real clear about how your life is. The space you have for a partner in it is important.
And clearing your expectations with the other person, saying, this is how much time I'm willing to give. This is how much effort I'm willing to put in. This is the amount of work I'm willing to do.
A lot of these guys will self-select in the talking process. I think everybody on dating sites has had experiences with men who write you and expect you to write back right away. And when you don't, they'll say, well, obviously you're not interested anymore, so I'm going to go. Dude, calm down. I have a whole day. It's not about you.
But it is about me. That's the whole point. I think that's another piece. With the next man that you date, find out if he thinks that it's all about him. Because if it is, you need to leave.
Look for a man who really appreciates and champions you. He doesn't have to like everything you like, but you don't have to like everything he likes. I remember having this talk with a human man who was an adult who'd gone to college and everything, but who was having a crash out because I didn't like something he liked. I didn't hate it. It's just not my thing. And I said, it's possible to have a relationship with someone and to be happy with someone and not have 100% overlap. That's not an achievable goal.
But if you don't think of a woman as a human being, then it doesn't make any sense. This is why there's so many guys with AI girlfriends now, because they want someone who's going to say, oh, wow, that's so interesting. Wow, you're so smart. I've never heard of that before.
I keep seeing people posting on Threads and I presume X, but I wouldn't touch that app with a 10-foot electronic pole. Women, you're going to be replaced with AI girlfriends and sex robots. If what you want from a relationship is a constant sycophant with no wants or needs of her own, I want you to have that very far away from me.
And I'm not going to give you that. Most women are not. Unless a woman is in a position where she has no other options, most women are not going to give you that.
What you're thinking of is a servant.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to be that. And I'm not jealous that a robot is doing it. I recently read that being romantically coupled can alienate us from developing our friendships outside the relationship because it's been ingrained in women that their boyfriends or husbands should be the most important person to them. We often don't nurture our friendships as much once we are coupled up. It's a shame. For me, my friendships have been a profound source of joy, comfort, and connection.
Why would I want to lose that? Not putting men as the focus of my existence gives me the clarity to see my meaningful friendships for what they are. I realize how emotionally nurturing my friends and community outside of the relationship are. Why would I ever want to let go of that? For a dude? Heck no. Friendships are a well of joy that shouldn't be allowed to run dry because we are with a man. That's plain nonsensical, as oftentimes we can rely more on our true friends to stick it out in rough times with us than on a man.
Sometimes I've been in a relationship with a man that they actively discourage me from spending time with other women because they don't want to be talked about. They don't want the other women to know the way that he's been treating me. They don't want me to come back with the feedback of other women. And that's a big red flag.
They're jealous. I remember having this girls' night that had been on the books for months. I remember my husband was so mad at me for leaving him. He didn't have other friendships, but that is not my fault. I'm not going to stop caring about the people that I care about because you haven't worked hard to develop real friendships in your life.
To be in a relationship where all you have is each other and you have no other friendships is not a healthy relationship. It might be a romantic ideal. Oh, you're all that I need. All that I care about is right here. It's not healthy.
And it's not right. It's weird. We talked about this on No New Friends. If you want to go back and listen to it, I've had so many women in my life who I've stopped being friends with or have moved back in my friendship circle because they're obsessed with being with their husband 24/7. I don't understand it. It doesn't make sense to me. And it's just weird. I think that the goal that has been shoved down our throats, frankly, from birth is that a nuclear family is the pinnacle. Owning a home, having a 2-car garage, having your 2.5 children and living that life. I don't think it's right for women. I don't think it makes women happy. And I don't think it's healthy to make that my only interest and the only thing that's important to me. I have a friend, she was saying she just wanted to have a glass of wine with a friend on her back porch after she'd put her kids to bed. And she could not find a woman who was willing to do that. We are community-driven organisms. We do well in community. And I think, I don't know where this came from, that the only goal is to be in these tiny family units separate from everything. Is it capitalism? It's wrong.
In the bigger picture, it is capitalism because we're moving away from the village where we share resources and have a communist free love society. If you are living in a communal environment, maybe you need one washing machine. That could be 5 families who have 5 washing machines. That's better for capitalism. General prompts for decentering men. Self-love diary. How much of my energy today went towards thinking about a man? In what ways have I made men the center of my attention? What would my life look like if I put my goals, needs, and joy at the center instead? What do I lose when I center men in my self-worth?
From the same article from Self-Love Diary, how can I set stronger boundaries when it comes to how much space a man takes up in my mind and my heart? What is the one thing I can do this week that's just for me? How would I spend my life if I wasn't always thinking about my romantic relationship? What parts of my identity have I hidden or softened for the sake of a man's comfort.
This brings to mind the number of women we know that have left unhappy relationships, unhappy marriages. They're sick of that man. They don't want to hear about that man. They don't want to talk to that man anymore. The next thing they do is try to find another man. I think this logic is flawed. Many of us, when we end a relationship, we think that man was a bad choice for me. That man was a bad match, but there's another one that's going to be good. Every man, because of the society that we live in, is going to have some of these foibles, bad habits, and unexamined beliefs that he is the center and he's sun and we are the moons. You're not just going to pick another guy at random. This is the one that I can have a happy relationship without doing too much self-work or self-examination or self-reflection. It doesn't exist.
You have to change the whole way you look at romantic love. You have to change the way that you look at men and women. All of that has to change in order for this dynamic to stop repeating itself. Because I convinced myself after my divorce, I believe in marriage. I just don't think I picked the right person. Since then, I've picked many people and all of them haven't been right either. But it's because of this dynamic. I have a friend who's divorced also. She was lamenting how hard it is to be out in the cold, filling your tires with air. These are the times when I wish I had a boyfriend. And I said, what are the odds that your boyfriend's going to do that for you? Why are we assuming that the boyfriend you have is going to be the kind who fills up your tires with air? Why do we think that? I don't know about you, but I've had a lot of boyfriends and I always ended up airing out my tires anyway.
Laura, what are your final thoughts on this topic?
First of all, I want to thank Maria for taking the time to write this eloquent and well-written letter. She said, I've never learned how to have a balance between maintaining my independence while still sharing my life with another person. In order for you to truly do that, you have to release yourself from the shackles of the patriarchy. Let go of this male-centered existence that we've all been living. Otherwise, you always will end up shortchanged, resentful, and feel invisible because that is the way it's set up. It's set up for him to be up here and you to be down here. That's just the way it goes. Your whole life is going to be about pandering and catering to your partner. So, Virginia, what are your final thoughts on this topic?
Maria has asked a great question, and I also thank her for reaching out. I think our answer is a little bit bigger than maybe she was looking for. It is to really think about what you want in a relationship, what you want out of another person, and what you're willing to give and what you're not willing to give. I have a lot of conversations with my partner now that seem unromantic, frankly. And you have to be willing to say things like, I appreciate that that's something that you want to do. I am going to spend my time doing this other thing I want to do. Afterwards, we can get together and talk about it. All of my life training speaks up during these times when I'm saying something that is not very feminine, that I am going to prioritize myself, choose my multiple careers, that there's a space for him in my life and it's a big space, but it's not everything.
I feel the same. In every relationship, I've given a little bit too much. And that's why I'm out of the game. I'm tired of finding myself completely worn out and empty when a relationship ends. I'm tired of messing up my friendships because I prioritize some doofus for a while. The truth of the matter is most of these relationships aren't going to work. The men in our society do not have the training to understand that they are not the center. And it's going to take a lot of unpacking for them to do and probably eons to get there. They've had thousands of years. How long has the Bible been around? That's where this all began. I was listening to someone talking about the Bible and she was saying the Bible was created because men realized that they couldn't create life. So they had to make up this man in the sky to make them more important than women. Everyone has been spoon-fed this story since the dawn of time, and it's very, very hard to unpack that.
I was just reading about exposure, that when a woman had a child, she would show it to her husband and ask what they should do with it. And many times, if it was a girl child, they would abandon her in the country because male children could work and bring you money, go to war and bring you fame, and female children were a cost, something that needed to be gotten rid of. It's been pre-biblical.
So the answer is go to bed when you want, watch the movies that you like, and spend time with your friends. Stop thinking that these people are the most important thing in the world.
Because they, in another life, might have abandoned you on a countryside.
Because all of this is propaganda. It was created by men, for men, and about men. In order for us to have a relationship that's truly balanced, we have to remember that we're equals.
Laura, if people want to find you on the internet, maybe they want to employ you professionally, maybe they just want to find out more about our podcast, My Sister's a Therapist, where can they find you?
They can find me at my almost 1,500 followers on TikTok. I am Laura Ryan. If they want to work with me professionally, they can find me at lauraryan.org. If they're interested in the podcast, they can go to mysistersatherapist.com for all of our episodes back to back, or they can find us on Instagram, My Sister's a Therapist Instagram. Virginia, if somebody wants to decenter men by going to a women's comedy show, how would they go about doing that with you?
You can find my comedy calendar at my website, which is www.bedinia.com. I also promote shows on my Instagram, which is Bedinia. I want to encourage anyone who enjoys the podcast to subscribe. It's going to help you keep in the loop with us and what we're doing. And it's also good for the algorithm. If you have another great question for us, like Maria, you can write us at hello@mysistersatherapist.com. If you have a business opportunity you would like us to be involved in, if you would like us to sell your sheets or socks or mattresses or
Vegan peanut butter.
or your vegan peanut butter on this podcast, you can write us at hireus@mysistersatherapist.com. Laura, now is the time when we sometimes share a positive review or a letter that someone has sent us. Do you have something to share with us this week? I understand that maybe you have a celebrity message this week.
I certainly do. This is a transcription of an Instagram post. This person, Funny Old Bag is her username if you want to follow her. She's very funny. She has 209K followers. Also, if you have 100K or more, or even less than that followers, feel free to make an Instagram or TikTok about our podcast. So this is what she said. Her name is Susan Rice. Today, I was listening to my friend Virginia Jones's podcast called My Sister's a Therapist. She and Laura Ryan, her sister, who is a therapist, have this great podcast. And if you haven't heard of it, you should listen to it. Today, they were talking about superstitions because it's New Year's Eve. My family is basically Irish, and we would bang pans to ward off bad spirits and stuff, and kind of do a lot of druid stuff like that. When I was about 9 years old, we started eating black-eyed peas because my mother's friend was from the South and they had lots of different superstitions. I also have superstitions about feathers, and I have superstitions about touching the side of the plane when I get on. Happy New Year. Make it a good one. Keep your chin up. We're walking into the light. Don't be afraid. It's going to be okay. Thank you, Susan.
Thank you, Susan. Susan was just on Star Search, and I was very proud of her. She was incredibly funny. She does touch the side of the airplane before she gets on, just to make sure that it's real, I guess.
What's the feathers one?
I don't know the feathers one.
I want to know about a superstition with feathers.
I'll ask her. Well, I want to thank Susan and Maria and all of you for listening to the show today. And in closing, I would like to leave us with some inspirational words from a great man, Billy Ray Valentine, Capricorn. As he said, we can make it, baby.
Me and you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.